It has never been more important than now to be able to develop a great remote editing collaboration.
The reason I chose you wasn't because you could give me something different or better or the same as what I did. It was actually because of an efficiency thing.
This is Dan, my client from Australia. He contacted me over 2 years ago and we are collaborating ever since.
I get to go and film something and then you get to go and play with it and turn it into something watchable.
We're apart by 10,000 miles. I mean, if you flush a toilet in Australia and in Poland, where I live, the water actually spins in a different direction.
It's called the Coriolis effect.
Weird, right? Anyway, would you like your clients to say things like,
I was hoping to secure your services for the editing.
And still have freedom of time frame and the place you work? Well, listen on. Today we're gonna talk about remote editing collaboration. Okay, Dan, tell us a few words about what you're doing here, who you are you working for?
It's very strange to introduce myself to someone who I know very well, but let's give it a go anyway. My name is Dan Reicher. I work for a company called Maths Pathway. Maths Pathway is changing how mathematics is taught in classrooms across Australia and hopefully one day internationally. And really what we are about at the core in terms of our values is about giving every student a chance to succeed. I always enjoyed editing, but I found it incredibly time-consuming and incredibly difficult sometimes to edit my own footage. I wasn't pushing work out as quickly as I wanted to push it out. I was doing other things as well, and my attention was being put in lots of different places. At some point I realized this is something that can easily be brought on with someone better. Like someone who focuses, a specialist. Like it's great to be a generalist, but sometimes a specialist is required. So one day, in my desperation and my procrastination, I was watching YouTube and I came across this guy. I was like, this is exactly the sort of person that shaped me. People like Philip Bloom, Chase Jarvis, Vincent LaForêt. It's really hard to express how much they shaped and changed my trajectory as a career, because all of a sudden I could watch someone and how they did it, and they were open and they were sharing. They were teaching, they became teachers. They used this platform to teach. And then actually finding someone on YouTube who was talking about In the Blink of an Eye and talking about Premiere and talking about storytelling through editing, you kind of resonated to me. The true spirit of editing was not to press buttons and to export videos at a certain quality and resolution, which is what so many videos were focused on at the time. But you talked about storytelling and you talked about where it comes from. It's been an amazing journey ever since, and one of the greatest partnerships I've formed so far is finding you and developing that editor relationship, because here we are, we're able to focus and specialize and do each of our jobs really well, and it's a team effort.
To accomplish that level of excitement about working together along the road, we've learned a few things. I remember you sending me a video you edited, and I was like, that guy can edit by himself. So the question is, can I do it better than you? To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question up to this day. And the first lesson, the first takeaway, the first pillar, is to learn how to communicate.
At no point did I think Peter is better or worse than me. I just thought it's going to take a couple of steps to get Peter to get what I want in this particular video. It was just a matter of continuing that iteration process. It's a creative process, it never ends, and no two people are the same, so just keep pushing.
Quite often people don't talk about how many revisions they want to make. They don't talk about the main message of the video. They don't talk about how they will provide feedback and so on. And such a lack of communication leads to a difference in expectations.
We work, we collaborate, we talk and we think and we have ideas together. Being that we're international, it does make it a bit more difficult to have that communication open all the time, but we use Slack, we have video conferences, seeing each other is important.
When building a remote editing collaboration, start with a small stakes projects to learn how to communicate your ideas, concerns and feedback. Remember that all people are different, so it may take a few iterations before the things click for you. Use video chats to get to know each other and always try to under-promise and over-deliver. Now here is a question. Can editors be digital nomads?
Anyone in the world can edit for anywhere else in the world now. I think that the technology is there, the internet speeds are there.
With storage prices, with cloud services, with tools for video collaboration, we already entered the era of global film and video productions.
We have every single bit of raw footage being uploaded digitally. But in the past, one thing that really worked for us was just creating proxies. So that really worked for us. In other cases, we still find it sometimes easier, given the internet connection speeds in Australia, that we might as well just send you a hard drive, and it is actually cheaper and more cost effective.
If you're looking for a simple solution, try using proxies. 4K footage from C200 that takes up about 70 gigabytes in space can be transcoded to 720p clips in ProRes proxy that will be probably less than 10 gigabytes in size. Or you can even go one step further and transcode it down to 480p clips in H.264, and in this scenario the clips would take less than 1 gigabyte in space, and you can still make perfectly good editing choices with such resolution.
Let's talk about the risks that I took on when I hired you. First, I had never met you. I went to the local computer store and I bought $600 hard drive or something like that. And I loaded up all of our footage that I could think of, and I just thought, well, I'm gonna send this. Hopefully it's gonna work out, so I might as well send the whole lot. I thought the worst case scenario is I lose $600 and a little bit of my time, but the potential is far greater.
That's something I've learned from Dan. Hire for potential. It's far better to have a remote collaborator who is excited about the work you're giving him than to have someone in the office who is just there to do the job and go home as quickly as he can.
And then we discovered team projects, and I think that's been a pretty successful experiment as well.
Team projects in Premiere Pro allow you to share edits without exchanging any files between the parties. All you need is another copy of the footage in the form of proxies or original source files. Projects live in the cloud and you can access them with your Adobe ID wherever you are.
For me, it's about visibility. With a file sitting in a Dropbox, you have to look at timestamps, you have to do file naming conventions, you can possibly do double ups. For me, I think data integrity and project integrity is really important, and what Team Projects brings is a clear visibility and tracking to what happens in a file and what happens on a project. At any given point, I know that I can upload my changes, I can download your changes. We're doing change and version tracking, and we're writing notes, what happens every single time. And I think that that's just simply an elevated way to treat projects.
But obviously Adobe's feature is not complementary. You can use any NLE that has a reliable proxy workflow. The secret is in developing a good creative process.
Even if you work with team projects, it's important to have good processes and to iterate on your processes and improve on it, because the expectation for how you're checking in, how you're numbering your sequences, and working within the project and having a project etiquette. And I think that aspect of it is the starting point and is applicable to team projects or Dropbox or files or whatever you end up doing. It's just that team projects gives you a bit more structure about how to do it.
Another piece of a puzzle is an online reviewing platform for the videos that would be easy to use, accessible, and that would allow us to compare versions. Without a doubt, a leader here is Frame.io. We use Whipster, which is a little bit cheaper, but once you start using a tool like this, there is no going back.
The benefit to us was immediate. I think touching a video and putting a pin on it and writing a short comment is a lot easier than describing the frame, giving the time code, and then explaining what you want. But you can literally say this bit here, stop, move that, whatever. So that's immediacy, and that reduces the friction point. When we talk about those friction points, this was one of them. But actually, there was one big advantage that I don't think either of us saw, which is all of a sudden the feedback could be broader.
Yeah.
Whipster actually was a game changer in the way that I collected feedback and engaged with my stakeholders.
They advertise by saying that, you will get less feedback, but I find that this is not the truth. You're actually getting more feedback. But, your goal shouldn't be to get less feedback. It should be to get the feedback you need to craft the story better, right? If
I was to get rid of, an online video review tool, whichever one it may be, I think that I would have a mutiny here. They wouldn't work anymore, So I think that's a critical aspect of how we do feedback to the entire company. It's no longer the domain of the marketing expert or the creative expert. It's actually available for anyone to provide feedback, and I think that's amazing.
This draws back from communication. It's your job to establish when and how feedback will be provided, but always welcome feedback. Remember, it's there to elevate the director's vision.
The director should have the vision. They should have the vision for what it must be and what it should be at the end. It's not that that's what it ends up being, but to have that vision will guide all the other decisions, and then you end up where you end up.
Sometimes, if it's about discussing the video in general terms, we like to share the timeline, share the screen, and work on the video in the real time. Zoom works really well for that purpose once you mark the 2 check boxes over there. And yeah, this is also a very fun way to, to get to know a director, to get to know his style, his decision-making process, and so on. But what if you feel hesitant about working in real time with a producer or a director? Yeah, you could be right. Don't do it unless you already establish some kind of relationship and trust between each other.
Partnerships with people are the fundamental building blocks of any collaboration. And I think trust is an important one. I think understanding and patience is another one. Rapport and a personal connection are important. If you have a relationship with someone that you don't trust and you don't think they're putting in as much effort as you do, then it's not an equal relationship, and therefore it's not the right partnership, because everyone should bring an equal amount. Everyone should bring something unique to the table. If somebody's bringing something that somebody else already has, or if somebody's bringing nothing or not investing the right amount, the partnership is doomed. There's no doubt in my mind. You can't really do anything other than have equal relationships, have trust, and have all those things kind of come together.
Obviously, we're just people, and sometimes life just happens. So having that equal partnership is how we transition from having a client to having a friend.
We've had this experience recently over Christmas in January. I had different priorities to what you had, and you had holidays, and we actually saw some dip in some of the work and some of the outcomes and the confidence, and we both kind of were like, this isn't right. In both cases, I think I felt more guilty that I was letting you down, and I think you felt guilty that you were letting me down. But as soon as we had that conversation, it was actually, we worked out, we both feel the same way. Well, let's just fix this. Let's go back and revisit. Let's start some processes. Let's actually put some routine in this. Let's put the energy and the love that's required to maintain a relationship. It's like with relationships at home with your significant other, It's not just happening, you have to put in the work.
No one will put it in for you. Always be the one who demands from yourself before demanding from others. And I know it sounds cliche, but always have a can-do attitude and always try to become a better version of yourself, of an editor you are.
I'm constantly on YouTube watching videos from other creators, not the finished product, but the making of. My favorite videos are the making of things. My favorite actually is Lord of the Rings Appendix. There's a huge series of appendix that Peter Jackson released, both for the original Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, that documents the entire production process step by step. But it begins at the storytelling, and it engages, and he talks about it on that intellectual level. He's giving you his process for free. And that is incredible. That's true teaching, that's true mentorship. I might not make Lord of the Rings next week, but actually the process could be very similar. I have the same struggles. I have to create vision in the people that I'm working with. I have to convince the people that are paying me that this is the right thing to do. I have to convince the people who are the subjects in it, that the actors, the talent, that they are bringing something and what we want them to bring. So understanding other people's process is one of the first steps to creating your own process.
Overall, hiring a remote editor is a little bit innovative idea. So if you want to work that way, you need to have some kind of unfair advantage over in-house editors.
It's simply more efficient to have someone else working and specializing and focusing on something that you can't.
It could be your unique editing style, communication skills, a competitive rate, or even a time zone difference.
Peter, one of my favorite things ever about working with you is waking up to an update or a new video or a new Whipster link, and I'm like, yes! I watch it 2-3 times, I put in 1 or 2 comments, I think about it, then maybe when I get to the office I put more comments in, I send a link to people, I get excited, so it's the first thing they see. I think the time difference is definitely an advantage. It has challenges, I think, in the collaboration. Not all the team members are always available all the time. But yeah, I think that the time difference is actually a blessing.
The window of opportunity is open as wide as it could be. Don't wait for someone to open the door. Reach out to people who inspire you.
So I think that anyone who's considering this out there and wondering, I saw this amazing work from a guy in Poland. Should I contact him? Well, yes, you should.
Just be genuine and willing to help, and eventually it will pay off.
I think collaborating with you has been kind of one of the biggest steps in my kind of creative process, you know, because we were talking about that. At the core of it, you know, it's two humans working together, and it's understanding and empathy and a true love for each other in the various appropriate ways that, you know, it works in this relationship, that we appreciate one another. It took someone as open as you to the possibility, and it took someone as ridiculous and crazy as me to risk it and to try it, and then together we kind of created something bigger than ourselves.
For both Dan and me, this is more than a working relationship. We're friends, we're brothers in crime.
I look forward to giving you a big hug one day and sharing a beer. That's going to be great.
And something tells me that when we finally meet, it will be by the bonfire. Maybe not on the railroad like here, but still we'll sit and talk like the first storytellers thousands of years ago. Be sure to follow Dan on Instagram and let us know how you like the video. I want to bring Dan again on the channel, so if you like it, I'm sure he will come back.
Do I look more attractive without glasses, or do the glasses make me look smarter? By the way, this is how much of a perfectionist I am. I'm still adjusting my angle and we've already started shooting. Sorry, I've lost my, there we go. Sorry, I'm really not happy with this angle. No, it's fine. Let's go a bit wider. There we go, better.